Good evening. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming out. Good evening. Could I ask you to please stand for a pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag. Thanks very much for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. I've got a full agenda, so we'll try to keep the meeting rolling along. First meeting of spring. It really did not feel like spring today, did it? But here we are nonetheless. We did have an executive session this evening discussing legal matters on Young Avenue. And I'd like a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? One edit to the agenda that I'm aware of is to drop item 13A, the HARB consideration for 401 Birch Street from the agenda. That will not be ready for this evening. Are there any other issues or changes to the agenda? With that, could I ask for a consideration of the amended agenda? Joel, I think was your motion.
Yes.
And the second? Second was Ellie or Julie? Sam. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. Good evening. This evening, we're going to be presenting a proclamation to bring sexual assault awareness to the community. This is an annual event that the Crime Victims Center does throughout Chester County to bring something that's often left behind or not discussed in public out in front of the public so that folks can understand and move something, again, that we generally don't talk about out into the public. You may have noticed that last week up on State Street, there were teal ribbons tied to some of the light posts along State Street. And on those teal ribbons, there is a card which talks about some of the signs of sexual assault. There's a QR code where folks can go for resources. So we put that up there as part of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, along with the Crime Victims Center. So I'm going to ask, we have two representatives from the Crime Victims Center here this evening. I'm going to ask them to come up and I'm going to share a proclamation as we declare this month Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
You want this?
Yes,
Here you
I'll
go.
take that.
That's great.
First, I'll read the proclamation so that everybody knows exactly what the intent is and why it's important. Whereas sexual assault is an intolerable, violent crime with public health implications for every person in Kennett Square as a victim, survivor, or family member, significant other, neighbor, or coworker. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harm our community, and whereas child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience sexual assault before the age of 18. And whereas during the month of April, victim advocate groups, centers, service workers, and many other organizations come together to connect with those who work to end sexual assault violence. And whereas the Crime Victims Center of Chester County has led the way in addressing sexual violence for over 50 years with free, confidential 24/7 hotlines and ongoing support and comfort to those impacted by sexual assault. Whereas the Crime Victims Center of Chester County seeks to prevent the experience of sexual violence through primary prevention efforts in schools, businesses, civic groups, and similar organizations. And whereas the Chester County Crime Victims Center forges collaborative relationships between service agencies and organizations to improve the quality of service for those most profoundly and directly impacted by sexual violence. Now, therefore, I'm Matthew Fedek, the mayor of the Borough of Kennett Square on this 7th day of April, 2025, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the Borough of Kennett Square and call upon all residents to speak out against sexual violence in our community and the Crime Victims Center of Chester County in their full support of those already impacted by sexual violence and work to prevent future violence. So thank you for your hard work and what you're doing for the community, for both of you. Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see you. With you?
Thanks.
Yes.
much, Mr. Mayor. We're most likely to cover all the business we have this evening. So instead of having consent items, we'll actually have action items on the agenda this evening. And if that's the case, then we probably won't need Wednesday's meeting. We'll see how it goes. But looking at the agenda, we'll probably cover it all this evening. So again, it'll be an action agenda. With that, let's get into the reports. Mr. Coleman.
Sure. I have three updates. We continue to work with our realtors to find long-term tenants for this building and the other two on the site. Obviously, that's a large priority for us. And it seems like we have some positive news on that. So hopefully we can get back to you all here pretty soon. Number two, just a reminder, we do have openings in our streets department for a full position and a part-time position, and a part-time facilities maintenance role. So if you know of anyone, you can pass that or share that, that would be appreciated. And then the last piece is we made some changes to our sidewalk ordinances late last year with the hope to improve walkability and safety within the borough. So I'll turn it over to Lexi Gams, who's our manager for that department, to give you a few updates.
Yes, so since the new sidewalk ordinance has been implemented, the enforcement efforts have been progressing pretty well. We've seen very little backlash or any complaints from property owners that have been cited, so that is good. During resale inspections, 2 sidewalks have been cited so far. One has completed their sidewalk repair and the other is in the progress. One sidewalk was cited following a complaint for a possible tripping hazard. The property owner requested an extension due to the weather conditions and the project scope. That happened back in February, so they're just waiting for the weather to warm up and get a contractor out there. And then we've approximately started to cite about a dozen sidewalks with door tags. So we are including the new updated sidewalk ordinance on that door tag, as most residents aren't familiar with it yet, and we are giving them a 3-month time frame. If they request a longer time frame, we are considering the scope of work and any requests they may have. These inspections began in February with the start of the rental and commercial registration inspections, and will continue increase as the weather warms up. So we'll start issuing some more door tags, some more notices, but we're trying to be lenient with the property owners, give them a couple months to find a contractor and make repairs as necessary. So it's progressing well, minimal pushback, and a lot of positive feedback from residents so far.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Kyle.
I have a question. Are you doing it in a certain area, or like how are you selecting who you're going necessarily identifying and going?
So we haven't done a specific area yet. It's mostly when we're out doing rental and commercial inspections and we find a neighboring property in that area. We probably will eventually, as the weather warms up, kind of split up and map out certain areas. Probably the most concentrated C1, C2, R3s, and then move our way out from there.
Mr. Crotty?
So nothing to report other than there's a RFP grant for RFP that's on our agenda for tonight. And just to preempt, because the questions come up at the last couple meetings, there still is no Pennsylvania law that will allow our local police officers to use radar. There was a Senate bill that was recently introduced to that effect, but it's just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill, so that is not yet law.
Thank you. Chief Holsworth?
Hi, good evening. So I did submit an activity report for March. A couple things I would like to highlight off of that. On March 25th, I attended the Kennett Rotary Club's spring social event. Essentially was the closing ceremony for the club. After 75 years, they're going to be going out of service, but they did end with a bang, and they've given us a $5,000 donation towards some of our needs this year. In total, they ended dispersing $50,000, to the community. So incredible organization, and it's a real sadness to see them, be disbanding. We'll say that earlier this past month, myself, Kyle, Kathleen from our COLA group. We had the opportunity to have a meeting with the head consul from the Mexican consulate, along with the consul for protection, Carlos Obrador. Many of you may have seen him recently on the news as he was transferring the remains of the 6 killed in the plane crash in Philadelphia back to Mexico. Him and the consul for protection, Sebastian Gavan, just again wanted to open up the communication with the municipality on the difficulties that we're facing with the current situation with the ICE deportations and whatnot, and just let us know that they're there to work with us as well. So that was a great engaging conversation that we were able to have with them. I got an update, and an unfortunate update, unfortunately, from Rep. Houlihan's office back in the end of March, that the community funding grant that we had been selected for last year for the 2024 community project funding, due to the most recent continuing resolution, the bill was not funded for our project. Then I got a very positive call this morning, which kind of perked my attitude up a little bit more. Donnell Shepard from the office said that all of the 15 projects that were selected last year, if we are still willing to move forward with it, they are going to push it forward for this year's funding for the 2026 funding year. So very, very positive that we will be able to continue with that forced de-escalation initiative that we'd originally started that was going to be funded for about $87,000. So we just need to update some of our equipment costs because now years gone by, equipment has become more expensive, and our support letters as well. But that was very positive because we were really assuming that we were kind of dead in the water. That was definitely good news. And the last thing to do is just a reminder that this Thursday we're having our ribbon cutting ceremony for the new police department joint borough space, April 10th from 3 to 5 p.m. It will take place in the 3rd floor meeting room here. And if there's any questions about the statistical report, happy to answer anything.
Thank you very much, Chief. Chief McCarthy, anything you'd like to report?
Trying to talk. So I will complete the report statistics for this week. I'll get it to you by Friday. We just finished our QA. Just super busy in March with the wind, kept us pretty much nonstop with a lot of vegetation fires. Had about an acre that we burned down by the park on a Wednesday afternoon. So, it was about the extent of it here. A lot of utilities, wires, trees, and coming down. We started our tiller training, trying to cross-train our drivers between the Kennett station and the Longwood station. So we'll be interchange personnel on our ladder truck. Pretty big initiative. It's a pretty labor-intensive training. The first weekend, they did about 400 man-hours from Friday to Sunday. It's a lot of training. It takes about 80 hours to get qualified to drive both positions. So we'll cover a little bit more in our presentation, but I will have that report to you by Friday.
Very much, Chief. Question for the Chief? And the committees and boards right now, Joel, Finance?
Yes, the Finance Committee met on March 20th, where we reviewed the February minutes and bills and approved and voted to submit them for approval to council. The financials for 2024 have been finalized and sent off to the auditors. And additionally, as far as this year, our consultant tells us they are hopeful we'll be able to receive our $2 million ARPA reimbursement before the end of this year.
Thank you very much. Any issues in the capital fund, Nick? I looked at the year-to-date this year versus last year. Is that just timing and grants or any shortfalls that you're aware of?
Sorry, I'm just looking at my capital fund. Yeah, the capital fund is not very regular. The revenue is primarily generated from our tax collections, portion of our tax collections. So that is very timing sensitive, and also the other part of the revenue is from grants, which are not regular. They're as we get them and get reimbursed for our expenditures. I don't see any issue with the capital fund at this point this year.
Thanks, Nick.
Mhm.
Joel, you were saying the committee attendance has been terrific lately.
Fantastic, Bob.
Kyle, any issues related to the administration and Dodge that, the efforts? Is there any impact that you've seen that may affect the borough that you're aware of?
Directly, not so far. So we we're awarded federal funding, maybe going back 2 years for some sewer plant work. So far, we have not heard of any impact coming out of that. I think if you were to look ahead, it's probably a potential indirect impact, which is nonprofits in the community that lose funding, and then how do they sort of fill their funding gaps, and what does that do to service? So, so far not direct, but probably pretty decent chance of an indirect impact.
And some folks are aware, Jen is, Ms. Samuels is writing an article on that, especially we heard that the Chester County Food Bank lost $250,000 in funding immediately, I think April 1st, if I'm correct. And the impact of that over the year is, potentially seven figures. So how that impacts Kennedy Area Community Services is certainly a concern as well. So be thinking about them, and to the extent you can help them out with an extra can of beans or sauce or something, consider them as we go into this year, please. Development. Kim, anything you want to share in Kathleen's absence?
I asked Kyle if he would speak on that.
Okay.
Sure. The biggest update came out of our planning commission, which we'll discuss tonight, but it's the scope for the request for proposals that we're looking to put out for updating our comprehensive plan. So this should be done every 10 years. It essentially is the kind of backbone for all the other actions that we take. And we are either 13 or 14 years into our current one. So it's half grant funded. It's a good project, but that was the main discussion of the last planning commission.
Terrific. Thank you. Community development, Julie?
Yeah, so as part of our State Street revitalization project, we took our 5 improvement locations that we're proposing, 2 gateways, as well as 5 locations in the middle of the town. And we presented these ideas last Thursday night to a bunch of store owners on State Street. And so many store owners attended. We discussed each idea with them and received their feedback. So we're working on rendering updates right now, and we'll be presenting to the Borough Council in May these ideas. And then in June, in this meeting, we'll present you guys the ideas for your feedback. So more to come, but we're really positive with the feedback and hopeful some of these projects will come to fruition.
Some of the concepts are really exciting. It's great to see that coming along. And I'm remiss in not passing on Kathleen Kakemo's apologies for not being able to be here this evening. She had a personal issue come up. Public safety, Matt?
Sure. Couple of things. One is I'll wait until we discuss the event applications when they come up later. So I'll give our recommendations from that. We did spend some time with the residents that have been bringing their concerns about parking from the new apartment complex over on Linden Street. And specifically Linden Circle. They came in with a petition that the residents had signed there to request that Linden Circle be one way. So counterclockwise, running in one direction there on going counterclockwise if you're entering into the circle. They also asked for no parking on the inner side of the circle, so that all parking would be only on the outer side. All of the residents in the circle signed it except for one resident who they just couldn't reach. Otherwise, they had agreement from that. So they're now looking at doing some parking requests along Linden further up, as well as on Washington Street. So before we put any of this in front of council specifically for the ordinance change, we're going to wait and present it all as one big ordinance change at one time. But we are going to recommend that the changes that they requested be implemented there. We had a really good report from both the police department and from the fire department, probably one of our most working meetings where we were able to dig into their reports and get some more information in detail. It was really helpful to have both of that information. So I would go into some of it tonight, except I won't because since we're going to have their presentations anyway. But it was a really helpful dialogue for us to learn more on specifics from both fire EMS and from the police department. And that is it for public safety.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Ellie, anything on Candidate Fire and EMS Commission?
Didn't meet last month, so No updates there. Although I would mention Kyle and I had a meeting last week with the Chesapeake, mostly to talk about, what they're thinking about fire and EMS. And Bill Messerschmidt decided on, no action items out of that, just keeping channels of communication open.
Thank you very much.
I think I'm next too on the community relations. I missed the ACOLA meeting because I was work obligation that meeting. And the human relations is in the process of interviewing new.
Thank you. Juan, I think you're part of the ACOLA committee. Is there any brief report you'd like to share? Okay. Okay. Thank you. No, that's fine.
Just give the update. It was positive in the sense that there were a few new people there. And typically with these boards and committees, there's topics discussed and there's policy discussed, but there's also just positives that come out of more community engagement. So there were a few people who have not been to these meetings or to committee meetings. They were there. So a lot of the meeting was sort of talking about what ACOLA does and kind of what that looks like in 2025. That was pretty positive.
Great. Thank you. And next is infrastructure. We met as a group on the 27th of, did you have something else? On the 27th of March, the infrastructure committee meeting met. We talked about making sure that we're budgeting for the capital for this building, the 600 South Broad Street property, that we're looking out into the future as it's an old building will need continual capital improvements and repairs to make sure we're budgeting for that in our capital budget going forward. We also talked about the sewer plant and some of the issues we've had there, and glad to report that with the Riverwind contracting group that's been working on it, things are going much better, and overall the plant operations are very efficient and going well. Is that fair? Okay. And then lastly in my report, but first in the meeting, was the 2025 road repairs. We do have capital funds put aside. We also have some big numbers that we have to take a look at on important roads like Cypress. So we came with 3 recommendations, really. Rob, would you mind sharing those?
Okay, since we'll be limited to basically liquid fuels funding for 2025, we were looking at paving of Hazel Avenue. That still will not complete Hazel Avenue, so the committee wants to ask council to approve any funding shortage for the project to be supplemented by an allocation from the reserve parking fund, and that any remaining fund in the reserve parking fund be transferred to the Cypress Street paving fund to be rolled over each year until Cypress Street paving is fully funded.
Rob, can I just correct? I think you meant the paving fund, not the parking fund.
Paving, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Then we talked about traffic calming, and we are going to get additional pedestal style pedestrian crossing signs like we have out on Broad Street now, or Union Street now. We're going to purchase them and disperse them to problematic crossing areas throughout the borough to increase driver awareness and pedestrian safety. And third is Public Works will be implementing low-cost traffic calming techniques on high-use roadways as a means of promoting speed reduction. All techniques will comply with PennDOT Publication 383 and the Federal Highway Administration's Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
So again, the 3 major areas are paving, Hazel.
Yes.
And we will need some funds from the paving capital fund to get that done this year. About $15,000-$20,000 is what we expect. But at least that significant road in the town that is in poor repair will get done this year as the only street to get done this year. The real issue is Cypress Street, as we all know. I mean, we're coming into that season again where there's potholes left and right on East and West Cypress. We're going to have to fill the potholes. It's right in today's dollars. It's about $1 million to do that street is what it's going to cost. We have $200,000 roughly in the paving fund and taking another $250,000 from this year's paving fund in addition to what we saved from last year to bring that forward. And it's going to take us a couple of years to save up to get all of Cypress done. Whether we whack it up in two shots, from possibly Union Street East and Union Street West to get it done over a couple of years' time to be determined. But we'd like to do that. And then secondly, those little pedestrian crosswalks that we tried on South Union Street over the last couple of years really seem to be doing pretty well. So we'd like to expand that a little bit, put a couple of more of those, probably on State Street and some other areas where we do want pedestrians to be a bit safer. And then a traffic calming concept or idea that Rob and team want to try. With that, is there any objection to those recommendations from council? No. Okay, so hearing so, Rob, we can keep rolling on that. Thank you.
I just want to add that the Public Works team is doing a great job of monitoring the roads. So there's a map if you want to see of where the roads are bad. And the roads are getting worse over time, according to their tracking. So council should be aware of that. The roads are objectively getting worse.
And we have, Rob, how many miles of roads do we have in the borough?
26 miles.
At roughly $1 million a mile. So
Yes.
when you do the math and the age and the lifespan of a road, that takes up an awful lot of cash. We've got to be careful and make sure we're saving on. Mr. Mayor, any report?
Two things. This month, I met with several different groups of residents that have ongoing concerns about the development of MVF. Some of the concerns that they had specifically came up on current property maintenance issues, the past cleanup and wanting to understand more details, exactly what went into the cleanup. So I took all of the concerns. There were 3 meetings in total. The one was with Magnolia Place residents. There were about 30 people there. The other 2 were a group of 3 and one person individually. I compiled all of their concerns and the things I'd like to see, and I put that in a memo to council so that you can start to think about how we're going to do that. I gave it to Kyle on Friday, and it'll be coming out with some additional stuff, I believe, as well from from codes on those issues. So keep an eye out for that. And if any residents say that they brought that up, that's where it is. I made a pretty comprehensive detailed of information, things that we may not have thought of. For example, one of the concerns was the water tower being painted with lead paint. And if it's lead paint and it's been flaking off and in the air, has any of the testing or anything been done around lead-based paint? And could that possibly be in the ground, or could that have been in the air? And right, so it's all those types of things that we haven't specifically talked about when we talk about the site cleanup that are real concerns. So I put it all together, and you should have it in the next day or two. And I think we need to be thinking about how, before we wait for developers to come in, what are some of the important things? I think folks are frustrated. You may have seen it on Facebook with the current condition of the MVF site. There's, there's fence that's down. There's 55-gallon drums that look deteriorated. There's weeds that are up. It just, the optics in and of itself aren't good. Whether there's anything bad or not in those drums, the optics aren't good. So I think there's an action plan. Mr. Crowley's been part of it. I think you'll be getting some stuff from Lexi as well. So if you just keep an eye on that. Also, I did meet with 2 different groups of folks that are frustrated with the Postal Service. I can do 0 about the Postal Service. However, they were very upset about it. So I did meet with them, 2 different folks, and I did compile for anybody that is frustrated with postal issues. Senator Fetterman's office does have a specific liaison that will take specific information and get back. And I took their list of concerns and sent it to Senator Fetterman's, and I've actually got a pretty comprehensive response back on the incidents, and I was able to forward those on. But if anyone has concerns about the post office, you can go right to Senator Fetterman's office, right on his website, and you can submit the concerns there without me filtering it on there. And that is it.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm going to reserve my report or comment until towards the end of the meeting during public comment. I'll just tease you a little bit about truck traffic, tractor trailer traffic on State Road. Talk about that a little bit later. Going to do a little juggling of the agenda this evening because I messed up in terms of the emergency services at our last meeting. It just ran so long, we postponed it to this meeting. We've asked as a council, we'd love to hear from our providers of public public emergency services, specifically the police department, our fire and EMS services. So we've asked Chief McCarthy, Assistant Chief Ricks, if you'd like to, and Chief Holdsworth to share with all of us, remind us of the services you provide. Also, what key initiatives are you looking into, including the complexities and the costs of some of those things that we're becoming more and more aware of? And then also future planning and thoughts around regionalization. Where has it gone well? Where has it gone bad? What are the opportunities, if there are any, from a police standpoint? We're asking each of them to go about 15 minutes, give or take. And then we'll hold comments and questions until after both of their presentations so they can take any questions that anyone here has for them. With that, I'll leave it to you. Chief McCarthy, please go ahead. And I'm going to ask you guys to use the mic because there are a couple of folks on Zoom as well. Terrific. Yeah, thank you.
All right. I guess you can go to the first slide, Rachel. So on the agenda tonight, we're going to go over some of our service delivery and the current state of fire and EMS. And then the fire chief is going to talk about the regional approach and the vision going forward in the future. Next slide. Quick introductions of myself. My name is Rick Franks. I am the current assistant fire chief at Kennett Fire Company. I've been in emergency services for about 20 years. I've been with Kennett for 16 of that. And I'll let AJ introduce himself.
AJ McCarthy, I'm the fire chief at Longwood Fire Company. I've been in the fire service about 27 years, all of that at Longwood. Did 20 as a volunteer, and I think I just started my 7th or 8th as a full-time employee.
So some of the current capabilities that we currently provide from the fire department, we provide an ALS and a BLS emergency medical service, which is the EMS. ALS is advanced life support. BLS is basic life support. It's basically a paramedic or EMT. We also provide fire suppression or firefighting. We do that with several different types of apparatus. We have engines, aerials, brush trucks, and tender trucks, all to fight different types of fires and emergencies. Our specialties that we provide within the region, we're pretty heavily trained and have a lot of equipment for water rescues, swift water rescues specifically when it floods. And we also have equipment to handle high angle or low angle rope rescues. Some of the other things that we provide in the region, multiple EMS service coverage for events like the Mushroom Festival, the all the runs and horse events around the region. Some of the things that we offer training out to the public are CPR, first aid, and stop the bleed courses. We do fire safety pre-planning and land development and review with companies that reach out and want help with their fire safety plans. We also provide free fire extinguisher training to the public, car seat inspections. There's several of us that are certified car seat inspectors. So somebody can stop at the station and get their car seat inspected and installed properly. And we often like to give out free fire station tours or have kids come down and do like their quick little birthday or something. Next slide. So what your current coverage is today for EMS, there's two 24/7 mobile intensive care units. That's ALS. We also call them MICUs, so you might hear that term interchangeably. And like I said, there's 2 of them, 24/7, 365. And then on top of that, there is a BLS power truck, usually the hours of 9 to 7, Monday through Friday, just for the peak time of EMS there. EMS is provided with very limited volunteers. It's mostly career staff. And they also, like I said earlier on the last slide, they provide plenty of standbys for all different special events. For fire coverage, it is covered by 3 different stations, Pomoreland, Kennett, and Longwood, and it's done by a combination department, which is career staff, particularly during the day, and volunteers based on nights and weekends. The career staff wide, there's 2 3-man crews, one at Kennett and one at Longwood, and that is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week. Pomarlin is still currently all volunteer. So some of the response data for the borough in 2024, out of our total call volume for the region that we ran, there was 183 fire responses in the borough, and that was about 14% of our total calls, which was, I think, just short of 1,300 calls for the year. And then EMS wise, there was 589 calls, which is about 16% of the total volume. And that number does not include 25 additional calls that were covered by mutual aid responding in when there was the 3 units that were already on calls at the same time. And there's a little breakdown of the fire incident and the types there for 2024. Next slide. So here's your breakdown for EMS for 2022 all the way through 2024. As you can see, the amount of EMS dispatches or 911 dispatches and patients treated just continue to grow every year. And then you have your breakdown of how many of those different calls are in the borough specifically. The difference between patients being dispatched and treated, maybe, you know, we get dispatched for an accident, there's no patient there to be treated, different fire calls or whatever where there's not a patient there. So that's the discrepancy in the dispatches versus patients treated. This is a breakdown of the CAD, a data dump straight out of the CAD, which is our computer-aided dispatch right from the Chester County. And that just shows the total response data for the Kennett Square Borough for the several years. That includes everything between accidents, automatic fire alarms, drills that were performed, fire calls, medical or storm-related events. And as you can see, it just gets bigger and busier every year.
Okay, you can go to the next sliders. Current state of fire and EMS, it is busier every year. It gets to be more expensive every year. A lot of our costs that we don't have control over are astronomical. For an example, and I know we've covered this before in some of the commission meetings, fire apparatus, pre-COVID, you could buy a fire engine for about $650,000, roughly, maybe $700,000. You're not going to get it for probably less than $1.2 million right now. The ladder truck that we had ordered last year, when we were trying to order it in 2021, was about 1.4 million, and it cost us 2.4 million to order it last year. Small group of manufacturers, not a ton of competition. Vehicles are specifically designed for their mission, so it's not like being able to buy a personal vehicle where you can just kind of shop dealership to dealership. You have a very small number, and there are a very small number of vehicles on the roadway. So they do control the market, and they kind of have us, so to speak. Same thing with the ambulances. We're still seeing backlogs as part as apparatus orders. To give you an example, the ladder truck we ordered prior to COVID probably would have taken somewhere between 10 and 14 months. The estimated delivery from February of last year was 54 months. So not only are we having to plan on design the vehicles, we also have to try to figure out, hopefully nothing changes in 5 years where the community changes and the design of the vehicles got to change. And we also are going to be responsible for price increases between that 54 months, because every manufacturer essentially has told us we're not eating those costs. So if tariffs, so to speak, go up, we're going to pass them on. So trying to plan financially for that has become even more difficult. EMS, same thing. The EMS system is overtasked with people that use it that don't necessarily need to use the ambulance. They could use an urgent care. And then hospital wait times, we've talked about this a lot, but there are times it takes us a couple hours to unload and transfer care to a patient at a hospital, which takes that unit out of service and therefore increases the demands not only on the other units we have in service, but mutual aid as well. Funding seems to be a continual battle, right? We are not eligible for a ton of grants. We have a federal grant that we can apply for that is on hold right now. all the awards that were in there are on hold right now. State grants, there is a small state grant. I think the fire departments can receive about 25 or 30,000. EMS is about 15,000. Essentially, that's more of an application. However many applications they get in, the state fire commission office divides that by, I think it's 30 million that's in there. That's what you're going to get. So we are trying to get the state legislature to pass additional funding for another grant program that would be more of a competitive style grant that could be used towards staffing. And we do try to apply for private donor grants, things like that, but it's getting more and more difficult trying to find essentially, grants is free money. The challenges in the volunteer fire service. It's been a steady decline for probably the last 30 or 40 years. When I started as a kid, the fire stations were still kind of like the social centers of town. You could go hang out with everybody because there really wasn't anything else to do. Generationally, you grow up in the fire station, so you continue to go there. I'm a third generation firefighter, so it was kind of something that we just kind of were born into and continue to go. That doesn't really happen anymore. As things change, as lifestyle changes, people will decide, hey, we're not going to donate 20, 30, 40 plus hours for free. Burnout is a big thing. In 1997, Longwood Fire Company ran 400 calls a year. Last year we did 1,300. We're on track to do, I think, 1,700 so far this year. So that's a huge task. And in our industry, a lot of times you will hear this, but pretty much once you get above about 1 or 2 calls a day for a volunteer, you are putting such a burden on their personal life that they're not going to continue to come up all the time. So those big jumps in call volumes, to give you an example, when we kind of regionalized and had to improve service delivery, we had a call volume jump. We went from 650 calls a year to 900 to 1250 in about a 30-month time frame, right? That was a big lift for the volunteers to try to be able to handle that. Inadequate funding continues to be a hardship for just about every fire company in Pennsylvania. It's been well studied for the last 50 years by the state legislature that, hey, we got a problem, we got to do something, we have to do something. They grab some low-hanging fruit, and pretty much the rest of those recommendations just continue to roll over to study this study. So fundraising, 50, 60 years ago, when you could buy a fire truck for like 50 grand, you might be able to do some chicken barbecues and things like that. You also only ran about 200 calls a year. With the training requirements and standards that we have to meet in order to serve the community, plus the call volume. We use this example to commission, but the tractor drawn arrow that we bought, we had to sell 785,000 pieces of chicken at 56 chicken barbecues. So if you think about the time commitment there, it's just not there anymore. We need to focus service delivery outwards towards the community. So the fundraising that we do is letter drives and grants. You won't see us on the street with a boot. We don't flip chicken. We don't flip pancakes. That unfortunately is just a funding mechanism that does not work anymore. Inflation, the cost and products. I mean, we covered it a lot, but it's just everything. We continue to see year after year double-digit increases on cost of our products. Our air packs went up 22%. Our gear goes up about 12% every year. So trying to keep trends and tracks with that while you're also trying to manage the growth of the organization to meet the community demands, it's well talked about between all 6 municipalities we protect on what's that funding for. And then increased risks and hazards. So buildings built today are, and no disrespect to them, they're kind of cheap, thrown together, and they get on as quick as they can. The problem for us is they fall down on us real easy. If you go up to Linden Street or some of the houses on Broad Street, when they're on fire, you could, work inside those houses for hours and not worry about it. The new townhouses, pretty decent fire has started, may fall down inside before we even get there. COVID lost some people, right? There were some organizations that just shut down during COVID, said, hey, we're not getting sick. We had some people that decided, hey, this, kind of where I draw the line. But that was not real big in our area, but there were in Pennsylvania entire organizations that said, we're done. We're not going to go get this and take this home. It's not really the way we do it. That's a hazard that you have to deal with. but it is dangerous. And we do dangerous stuff every day. You know, we try not to get hurt. It does happen. But there are times when, you know, someone can get seriously hurt and some other volunteers say, I'm out, you know, I'm not going to get burned. I got to have family support. Takes me out of work. Oh, I'm sorry, correct. The biggest one's cancer. We covered this in the commission last year, but we'll get cancer at a higher rate than pretty much anybody else in society. I think there's, I don't know, 40 different types of cancer that we're way above the national average for. We're fortunate. We had funding by the Commission for the Municipalities. We do NFPA physicals every year, which one of the specific things is screening for cancer. Just had one of my guys went to his physical as thyroid cancer. So, you know, those are super important. Cancer presumption in Pennsylvania passed a couple years ago. Basically, they said if you can document a certain amount of hours and exposure, if you get cancer on the job, it's presumed to be firefighting related, right? That was great until the insurance industries all said that we get workers' comp from, hey, we're not going to cover this. So we're dropping everybody. We just had one drop us last year because they were like, yeah, we're going to insure you guys. They had a claim and they sent everybody letters that said you're done in 30 days. So we run into it is there are no regulatory agencies that assess the performance of fire departments in Pennsylvania. So as a Commonwealth, they rely on the local level. There is no standard in Pennsylvania to be a firefighter. You could go to a fire station, join, get voted in, and be in a fire in an hour. No training. And there are some places that do that. We are not one of them, but there's literally zero guidance on how to be a fire department in Pennsylvania. And that's why you see such a different level between areas of how fire protection and EMS is provided. We've tried, we were trying to get legislation passed to put in standards to be a firefighter, and it just does not go through. So makes it kind of difficult too to compare, right? Because if you have a progressive department like ours that is up on training standards and national standards and industry best practices, you get a good product. The flip side is if you get someone that just does it because they like the t-shirt, it's a farce that you have a fire department. You probably just have a place with some trucks in it. This is super important because in other parts of the country, there are standards and regulations at every level of supervision. There are response performance standards, which you can compare to the financial request. So one of the things that we've been working on, and we're hoping that at some point, you know, we'll be through that project this year, is 3 to 5 year forecasting that has standards tied to it that shows, hey, this is where we're at, here's where industry best practices are, and this is what the cost centers are. So the Kennett Regional Approach. So the commission's been around since 2017. Prior to that, in the initial part of the commission, you had 3 fire stations, Kennett, Longwood, and Pomar Lynn. They operated independently. They all had their idea of ways to do it. And all had different costs, right? We were all at different sizes. So we had evaluated in 2021, we evaluated the actual effectiveness of the fire companies and realized that 2 of the 3 were failing a majority of the calls. That would either be not showing up at all, showing up understaffed, showing up with unqualified people. As funding started to increase, you know, expectations increased too. So to try to fix the service delivery, we came up with a plan to regionalize. So we consolidated. So while we're still 3 independent nonprofit corporations, as far as service delivery is concerned, we operate as a single fire department. I've been tasked with the responsibility of overseeing that on the administrative and the operational side to ensure that not only is it effective, but there's money there to do it. And that has benefited not only the community, but the fire companies as well. There are more training standards have been put in place. So now we are operating from the same playbook. We have a training chief. His sole responsibility is there's about 200 people in our system. His sole responsibility is to establish standards, ensure that every member at every station is at the same level, and then we're going to increase our skill set. It's a hard thing to do when you take 3 separate identities or personalities and try to get them to function as one. It's been rewarding. They do a really good job, but it's been a long road to get there too. The biggest benefit is the community doesn't suffer now from failed responses. We run it like a single department, so our scheduling comes out of the same program. Our communication now is out of the same program. So if we know that one is lacking, the other one is right there to pick it up, and the resident doesn't suffer. You know, the personnel work a little harder, but every time you pick the phone up, you're going to get somebody, and you're going to get a crew that's qualified, and they're going to solve your problem. Go ahead, Rachel. So the duty crew staffing, we staff our station now. So prior to the regionalization, 2 of the stations were coming from home, which basically meant you called 911, gave them your address, what your emergency was. They would alert the pagers we all carry. You would drop what you were doing at home, get in a car, drive to the fire station, get your stuff on, wait for a crew to drive. That's all time. You know, in the borough, it was shorter because a lot of people live in town. It's a little easier to navigate the borough. At Longwood, it's impossible to drive day and night out there with either the volume of traffic or just about every road they work on all the time. So it was a little harder for us. So we had actually started staffing our fire station to deal with the Longwood Gardens Christmas traffic. And because we couldn't get into our firehouse during Christmas time and we couldn't get out of it either. So we were trying to cut down our response time. When we changed this and started trending call volume, it was pretty evident that, hey, the old model's not going to work. So we changed the model where we do duty crew staffing, right? So they, you know, instead of having the unknown when are they going to call me, the volunteers now can schedule when they're going to do this. We put a minimum staffing in, we have a response plan done to it, and that's how we are delivering service. Rachel, if you click on that, I should show the videos, that one, right? Yeah. So these are all 3 stations training at a simulated fire in Westchester, operating off of the same standards. So there's a 2 Longwood personnel, there's a Kennet personnel. We do this, we've started doing this more frequently. This essentially is where we take what they learn in our drills that we do on Wednesday nights and through the duty crews and test them, right? There's no supervision as far as teaching here. This is 100% skill evaluation and application of what they're required to do when you call 911. I think we're doing it at least twice a year. We try to do it more frequently. So in order to be able to wear an air pack in our fire department, you have to make at least one of these every year to be signed off that you have shown competency, not only in your air pack skills, but in all of the process. So this facility is in Westchester. You know, we rent it from them. We are fortunate that it is close enough that we can go to it. We were supposed to go Sunday to Coatesville, the county's public safety center. We're going to go the last 2 Wednesdays of this month, and they'll go through skills evaluation. Our incentive program, which is fully funded by the municipalities, your service fee is calculated into that. Our volunteers can earn up to $13,000 a year by complying with the volunteer incentive. So there's a policy that says you have to do so much to remain active and keep your gear. And the incentive program was to get them to do like another 10 or 15% above that. It's been super beneficial. It's one of the ways that we tied changing the way we deliver service to the incentive program, because there's 2 things that firefighters don't like at all is changing how the way things are. So this incentive program kind of gave us a little bit of an aid to say, hey, we're going to change what we've been doing for the last 100 years, but here's how we're going to try to reward you. They work super hard for it. We have people that sleep in the firehouse maybe 40 hours a week. You know, this is not like volunteering anywhere else. So this incentive program is essentially trying to take a little bit of the burden off of them giving up time where they essentially would work a part-time job or at overtime to get them to come in and give us basically way more free time than we would pay full-time employees. Next slide, Rich. So real quick on EMS, advanced life support, Ricky covered pretty much is the paramedics. They do the more serious, higher acuity calls, cardiac monitoring. They administer the medicine and narcotics to treat a variety of stroke, cardiac arrest, things like that. they work directly with a medical command physician at the ER, which is usually Chester County, to receive orders to initiate that higher level of care. EMTs are the lower level, so they're still an important function on medical calls. They do things to assist the paramedics on calls, or if you call and let's just say you broke an arm and you don't need any kind of pain management, the EMTs will come out, they'll splint, they'll take you to the hospital, things like that. Right now, we run about a 60-40 split. It's a little higher in the last couple months, ALS versus BLS. But you know, we deliver everything out of the MICU, which is one EMT and one paramedic. So when they do get to a call, if a call is either upgraded or downgraded, they can switch instead of waiting to call for another resource. And we've spent a lot of time going through this with the municipalities. This is how we would kind of deliver and service. It's a little more cost effective to the end user, so you only get one bill instead of getting billed from two municipalities or two service providers. Yeah, Rich. So we cover 6 municipalities. We cover all of Kennett Square Borough. We cover all Kennett Township, all of East Marlboro, all of Pennsbury, all of Pocopson, and about 60% of Newland. It's about 56 square miles. We split our operation for the EMS in half. So half of it comes out of the Longwood Station in front of Longwood Gardens. The other half comes out of the Kennett Firehouse on Dalmatian Street. And our BLS truck comes out of Longwood Station. And primarily we run a majority of that out of Longwood Station because if you were to look at this map, we actually sit kind of dead center in this region. Next slide. So the big challenges. COVID really threw like EMS into a haywire, right? A lot of people left the field. They're not the best paying jobs in the world. So you get medical providers that end up working 5 or 6 jobs and, you know, you get them on Wednesday, they're already on like their 60th hour. And we try not to do that. So we try to remain competitive with it. Because of the staffing shortages, what ends up happening is everybody prices themselves out. You know, if we change our pay scale to stay competitive and do it $2 an hour, the neighbor down the street does it $4 an hour. And we were going to try to get to a point where, hey, let's stop killing each other. But unfortunately, the attorney said, you're probably going to violate some antitrust stuff. So you guys can't do that. Our equipment's expensive. It expires. You know, IV pumps, ventilators, power stretchers. The power stretchers are about 30 grand. And, you know, after 10 years, the manufacturer says, don't use it. Vehicle inflation. So at one point we had a hard time getting chassis for them. An ambulance now costs about $370,000. And to give you an idea, you know, we purchased a new ambulance. It came in 2023. I think it has 100,000 miles on it already. Right. So it's already getting ready to be rechassied. Supplies and medications, we run into back orders. There's periods of times where, you know, especially during COVID, we were having a hard time getting IV bags or latex gloves, and insurance reimbursements and lack of return of billing. So yes, we do bill for EMS calls. The insurance companies do not pay 100% of the bill. We collect probably less than 50%. Medicare is even worse. We have a lot of no pays or self pays, which end up being no pays that go to collections. And it's nothing for me to write off anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million a year in bad debt. Next slide. We do 2 fundraisers or letter drives. One goes for the regional fire department that only supports the fire rescue operations and the budgets. That's a tax deductible donation and includes all 3 stations. We run it out of the Kennett Firehouse. Gina Pucci takes care of managing that. And the ambulance subscription drive so goes straight into the EMS operation. The subscribers receive a discount towards a bill if they got it. So essentially, you're transported in our ambulance and your insurance company does not cover the full bill. We write the balance off if you're a member. Next slide, Rich. So the vision for the future, right? So we're trying to continue the high quality service. You know, our residents have become accustomed and quite frankly, they demand it. We played a video for the Public Safety Committee where some of the residents were a little unhappy. It took us like 5 minutes to get there. You know, we're trying to be good community partners, grow our relationships with every aspect. We do a lot of community outreach. Gabby takes care of working with a lot of the nonprofits and other school districts that we provide protection to. And then community risk reduction, right? So part of our job is trying to prevent them as well. And by doing the community risk reduction, we're able to identify things before they happen. The insurance companies like it because then they don't have any claims, and your insurance premiums can go down. So the lesson, right? So our commission is, it's got 5 municipal people in it. We hope to have back up to 6 at some point with you guys. Essentially was to try to keep a core group together, lessen the burden on the local government and us to an extent through a collaboration and their funding mechanism, right? So we explain where we're at, what we need, and they analyze financials, try to figure out how they're going to support us the best that they can. It's not a perfect system, but it's much, much better than a lot of places in the Commonwealth. So funding. So this year, the borough's contribution, when you factor in the grant we applied for, is just under $1 million. You'll actually pay just under 800,000 in currency or cash. The KFIRC or the Fire Commission, their total contribution into the system this year is 4.6 million. So a little more than 3.5 goes to the 3 fire stations for operating, and then they maintain and hold the funds for the capital expenses. So we've started a capital fund for replacing apparatus and equipment, and that stays with them, and we submit the request or the invoices when they come in. The breakdown goes, Ken and along would split the fire funding evenly. 40% goes to about EMS. 5% goes to Pomerlin because they have the lowest overhead. And then there is a small portion of that that goes towards the administration of running the commission that we don't have anything to do with. It does not fully fund us. It funds about 40% of our overall budget. We're responsible to come up with the rest, and that's made up through billing, grants, donations, things like that. So we appreciate your support. I thank you for coming here. The public safety meeting that we start going over the data, I think will be pretty beneficial. It was a good conversation the last time. But we appreciate the opportunity to talk to you tonight.
Thank you very much, AJ and Rick. I'm going to ask you guys to hang on if you would. And Chief Holsworth, would you share similar from the police department's perspective? And then we'll have any questions after the chief.
Okay, so move on to slide 2 there, Rachel. So to give a little better understanding of where we are, I felt a good idea to talk about where we've come from and how we've evolved here, policing Kennett Square. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of technically a 10-year window. So 2015, we operated utilizing a reactive model of response with limited planning and preparation involved. We didn't have a clear vision on the importance of officer and staff development. We didn't have a plan for officer retention, which has always presented a challenge, and even more in the past, 5-6 years now has presented even a greater challenge. We didn't focus on the importance of utilizing technology advancements to our benefit, and we didn't focus on limiting our liabilities. So fast forward to 2025. We now operate employing an evidence-based approach. We use research and data. Decisions for crime statistics and studies are used as well as an evaluation of past policing. Problem-solving approach, we identify trends, underlying causes, rather than solely relying on a reactive model of policing. Testing and evaluation, we implement pilot programs. One I'll point out is when I initiated a pilot program for the use of body cameras back in 2018. They have been a wonderful addition to our policing. Our transparency, our accountability, our training, methodology, everything has just been wonderful from that. Community-centered policies, we got more public input, trust, and legitimacy in our decision-making. We've adapted and improved using strategies evolving based on what's worked rather than tradition or assumptions of what we believe would benefit the community. Next slide, Rachel. Examples of some of our evidence-based policing is more hotspot policing. Studies have shown that crimes often concentrated in specific areas. Targeted patrols in these hotspots reduce crime more effectively than random patrolling. Focused deterrence has, instead of broad crackdowns, police engaging directly with high-risk offenders, offering support while warning them the clear consequences. This has been very pivotal in our approach with our juvenile population. And it actually has damn near eliminated the presence of gangs that were once prevalent around here. Problem-solving or problem-oriented policing analyze recurring crime issues, and develop tailored solutions rather than responding to incidents. Body worn cameras, again, have been a incredible benefit to us. Also reducing our use of force incidents and complaints against officers, along with increasing our accountability. De-escalation training, studies have indicated that officers trained in de-escalation techniques can reduce the use of force and improve interactions with the public. I share on a monthly basis with the mayor our current use of force incidents, and I can testify to the fact that they are extremely low, which is incredible in policing, especially in this day and age. We use evidence-based approaches to keep policing more fair and transparent, also helping reduce crime, build our public trust, and effectively utilizing our resources. Slide 5, Rachel. We've moved on to officer and staff development as a crucial in policing for several reasons, including improving performance, increasing community trust, and ensuring ethical and effective law enforcement. And here are some of the key reasons why it matters. Enhancing skills and knowledge. Continuing training officers helps officers stay updated on new laws, policing techniques, and evolving criminal behaviors. This is something that's become real pivotal for us in the past couple of years now, as we've transitioned our policy management system to Lexipol. We continue to train on our policies on a monthly basis. Typically, we challenge our officers with about 10 to 15 scenario-based challenge questions and scenarios to contact or to reinforce their understanding of the policies and situational techniques. Ethical and professional conduct. Development programs reinforce ethical decision-making, accountability, and professionalism, reducing incidents of misconduct. Our internal affairs are also something that is very low. We take every complaint, whether it be justified, unjustified, perceived, every complaint that comes into our department, we do a thorough investigation on, and our complaints are extremely minimal for the amount of, especially the amount of contact that our officers have with the public. As you can see in some of our monthly reports, our officers are conducting anywhere from 300 to 380 traffic stops a month. That's substantial, especially for a municipality our size. But that goes to show the level of professionalism with the officers, that we do not get complaints out of that many contacts with the public. And they're not great contacts. People don't like being stopped for speeding or running stop signs or any violation of the law. But the officers and their professionalism and how they've been trained and developed really shines through with how we conduct ourselves. Officer safety and well-being, training and de-escalation, mental health awareness, and stress management helps protect the officers from harm and supports their own well-being. Adaptation to modern challenges. We're constantly evolving our new technologies, our social issues, our crime trends. Ongoing development ensures that the officers are prepared for these changes, the ebbs and flows, of society. Leadership and career progression. Staff development creates a pathway for leadership roles. We found this to be incredibly important, and we've prioritized it over these past 7 to 10 years now. Legal compliance and risk reduction. Proper training helps officers follow legal protocols, reducing liability and the risks of lawsuits against the department. Crisis management and critical thinking. Developing programs to teach the officers how to handle high-pressure situations effectively, improving their decision-making in emergencies. I shared a statistic with the Rotary Group when we were talking last month. Most normal people go through 5, maybe 10 traumatic incidents in their life. Policing, first responders, that number's typically north of 750 throughout a career. So to train them to deal with these things and provide the support systems in place truly goes a long way to protecting your own staffing. Planning for officer retention in policing requires a strategic approach that addresses key factors such as job satisfaction, career development, a work-life balance, leadership, and organizational culture. None of this was really ever explained to me when I got into policing 30 almost years ago now, but it truly has helped us kind of develop our staff and protect them and their families as well. We assess the current retention challenges. We began conducting years ago exit interviews. I'm on slide 7, sorry. To analyze any turnover data. And really the interesting thing as we continue to have turnover. As we've conducted a lot of our interviews, not a single person that has left the department in the past 5 years now has left because there was a problem within the department or a problem with the municipality. it's because there's been some better opportunity that is, has exposed itself to them. Could be just through a larger department, more areas of expertise, better paying, or even just something that was better for their work-life balance. We had one officer that left last year after having a newborn because a previous department that he worked in was going to offer them a straight day shift schedule, and he couldn't pass it by with the childcare. Could not blame him or fault him for that. But we take that significantly serious as we're analyzing our trends and our retention challenges. We've improved our recruitment and onboarding. We've hired officers who align with our agency's values and missions, and I think that's been clear in several of our last hires. We've provided a structured onboarding process with a mentorship program. Our typical field training program is about 700 hours. It lasts for essentially 3 months. That the officers being mentored on every shift, every hour for that time to make sure that they're being evaluated and they're at the competency level that we need them to be before we can release them to be on a car on their own. We've enhanced the career development and training. We've established clear career progression pathways as far as promotions, special assignments. We've provided access to ongoing training, leadership, mental health, specialized policing skills. We offer tuition reimbursement and incentives to further education, and that's something that's even been done through our collective bargaining agreement with the municipality. We've strengthened, slide 8. We've strengthened our leadership and our organizational culture. We've trained supervisors to effective leadership and communication. We fostered a culture of transparency and fairness and recognition. And we encourage open communication between the leaderships and our rank and file officers. My door is open all the time. Sometimes I wish I could close it because I could get a little more work done at times. But all of our officers are completely confident they can come in and share whatever it may be, a concern, a problem, might not even be work related. And that's been fostered throughout all of our levels of leadership. We have a competitive compensation and benefits. Again, as compensation through our collective bargaining agreement. I know the municipality realized the importance of keeping and retaining the officers that we have. We provide robust benefits because that's the same thing throughout the industry. We recognize and reward our officers as we just had our awards recognition last month. This formal recognition, for just this performance that's above and beyond. They do an incredible job with everything that they do day in, day out, but we always like to point out the things that they've done exceptionally well. We encourage a peer-to-peer recognition to build that camaraderie within the department, and we always celebrate any milestones such as years of service. On slide 9, community and family engagement. We've developed programs that involve officers' family and department activities. We see a lot of our officers' families and children come out to our National Night Out event, and some of the other events that we do throughout the municipality. We foster positive community relations to improve the officers' job satisfaction, and that's really been one of the key factors in this municipality, is the opportunities to build relationships with the people that you serve, whether it be our residents, our businesses. Their real rapport is built, and unfortunately, you don't always see that in some of your larger agencies, your townships and whatnot, because you may not have that repetitive contact, positive or negative, with people within the municipality. We monitor and adjust strategies. We regularly review that retention data, and we adjust policies on an annual basis, sometimes even sooner. We stay updated on all the industry best practices from other law enforcement agencies. We conduct annual satisfaction surveys to measure the effectiveness of our retention efforts. On slide 10, the police department utilizes technology advancements to enhance public safety and improve efficiency and support our investigations. Again, data-driven policing has been important to me to isolate these problem spots that we may have, specific problems that we can actually do our predictive policing and analyze these patterns and allocate our resources. We only have 2 officers that are out on every shift. So it's important that we structure them and we deal with things on a really an allocated basis. We use certain things such as real-time crime centers, and we integrate various data sources for immediate situational awareness. I'd shared this with our public safety group with our last discussion. All of our major events, we do threat assessments for. And it gives us a much more clear perception on what is going on in the world and how those things may challenge us here locally. And we allocate that information as to certain things in our marathons, our parades, our street events of what we should be focusing on to make sure that we're allowing for the most safe practices for, our community members. We use certain things such as facial recognition, license plate readers, help identify suspects and locate stolen vehicles. We have one mobile LPR on one of our vehicles, which has been fabulous as far as a resource to bring out information on wanted subjects, stolen vehicles, information that pertain to other investigations. We've used that data with some of our more significant incidents, such as our bank robberies, to pinpoint, vehicles that were in the area at the time of the crime, and it's been really very rewarding. Body cameras and surveillance. Again, body cameras have been pivotal for us. We don't have drones in our municipality, but we have drones in our resource. We use different AI smart systems as far as detecting activities in real time. We use communication and connectivity. Next Gen 911 allows our citizens to connect with our emergency dispatch center. We use apps and mobile data terminals to access all the records that the officers need while they're in the field. We have encrypted radios and networks, which provide that secure information for the officers as they're conducting all their business. We use digital forensics and cybercrime units. Computer forensic labs extract and analyze digital evidence from devices. We use the Chester County detectives as far as their lab resources for a significant amount of data driven, for computer, for cell phones, extracting data from them throughout investigations. We use social media monitoring to track activities and gather intelligence. That's one of the things that our threat assessments do through DIVIC, as the Delaware Valley Intelligence Center, sort of comb through social media to see if there's any online chatter leading up to events, anything, again, pointing out anything that we should be focusing on, outside of the norms. We use different task forces to address fraud, hijacking, digital threats. We use non-lethal and smart weaponry. So our non-lethal, our tasers and other tools reduce deadly force incidents. We don't have anything such as gunshot detection, but that is something that we have considered and we may implement at some point in time. Our community engagement and transparency, we highly utilize our online portals and our social media to improve communication and let the public know exactly what we're doing, even down to the fine details of, on a weekly basis, we release blotter information just to give the public an idea of some of the calls that we go to. We release all arrest information. It's all, again, public, and we release anything that we feel needs to be, public knowledge. And then on slide 12, we limit our liabilities in policing involves a combination of legal, procedural, and policy-driven strategies to reduce risk and to protect the officers and the department from lawsuits, misconduct claims, and financial damages. We have strong policies and training. We have clear use of force policies, and we have these well-defined guidelines on when and how force can be used, aligning with constitutional standards. We use de-escalation training. Officers are trained in de-escalation techniques. Every officer on our force has been trained in de-escalation techniques, and also to be able to use the least amount of force, to reduce liability risks. Crisis intervention training, the CIT training that the county hosts, we have sent the majority of our department through this, with the exception of our few most recent officers, for training for handling mental health crises that can prevent unnecessary confrontations. And every officer that's gone through the CIT training has come back to just boast about how wonderful it was, and really eye-opening that it provided them with information to truly apply in their day-to-day activities. We do bias and ethics training to help prevent discriminatory practices that could lead to any lawsuits. We have proper supervision and accounting on slide 13. Again, body cams and dash cams recording, the interactions can provide evidence to support officers in legal disputes and deter misconduct. Early warning systems as far as tracking all of our complaints, which is why we take every complaint, no matter how small it may seem, so we can see if there's any repeated complaints and identify something before it becomes a more serious incident. Our internal affairs and oversight ensures a robust internal review process for complaints and incidents and can reduce liability. And then on slide 14, our legal protections and compliance. Qualified immunity is something that protects officers from personal liabilities unless they violate clearly established rights. Adhering to state and federal laws, following constitutional policing principles minimizes risk. Union and legal representation. Officers have access to legal counsel throughout their own bargaining unit, the Chester County FOP. So the officers know that they are supported as they're doing their jobs. Community engagement and transparency on slide 15. Community policing really is something that we've worked on for decades, even going back before 2015. And it building that trust with the public reduces confrontation and complaints. Insurance and risk management, liability insurance. Some departments or officers carry professional insurance, but that's all provided by the municipality. On slide 16, proper documentation and reporting. Detailed reports, proper documentation of incidents, including use of force, arrests, and stops can protect officers in court. One thing we have been significantly known for, and this is, I'm not taking credit for it, this actually goes back to the days of Ed Zanino when he was our lieutenant. Ed had ingrained in us, to where I still hear him telling me the importance of our professional report writing. And we have gotten accolades over the years, ever since, Ed's implementation of that idea for all of our cases that always, went up to the common pleas level through the district attorney's office. There has never been complaints about our reports. Matter of fact, sometimes our reports are too long, but that's a good problem to have. 2024, we then completed the construction of a 21st century police facility, which now provides the foundation for a promising future as we seek more innovative ways to serve our community. Our station was deliberately designed to accommodate these future expansion needs. So that kind of brings us to our structure here on slide 17 in 2025. I'm fortunate. This is now hard to believe. It's been 8 years since you gave me the opportunity to be the chief of police here. Feels like it was yesterday. 8 years has gone by quickly, but it's been an honor. The chief of police's role is more leadership and administration. I manage every asset or every aspect of the department. Public safety and crime prevention, personnel management, budgeting and resource allocation, community relations, law enforcement oversight, crisis management, collaboration with other agencies. We work with every agency, local, state, federal, and I'll get into some of that as we talk about some of our other positions. Our Lieutenant Ken Rongas supervises operations on a day-to-day activity of the officers and detectives and on our specialized units. He manages personnel, assigning duties, evaluating officer performance, and ensuring proper training. He enforces policies and procedures with our training. He takes on a charge of incident command during some of our major incidents if I'm not available or if I'm taking a different role into the incident. Matter of fact, when we had our training exercise with the school district, I guess it was about 2 years ago at this point in time, we did a full-scale threat exercise at the high school. I actually specifically had Ken run that incident just to build some skill set with him and give him an opportunity to shine. And I think everybody did a wonderful job with that, including our fire and EMS. He does investigation oversight. He's a liaison role, connecting the different levels of command and other law enforcement agencies as well. Ken is assigned to our FBI Violent Crimes Task Force, and this is one of our other agency integration. The Violent Crimes Task Force is something that we connected with back in 2020 as we began seeing a significant onslaught of the community with I want to say a juvenile gang, essentially. That's what they were, that were coming up from different areas in Delaware that were stealing cars, whether it was cars that had keys in them, cars that they were able to get into. We saw just this massive onslaught of this going on, and we reached out to our contacts through the FBI. At the time, it was Luke Church was the FBI SAC from the local office here. And we got Ken assigned to that task force so it could open up other funding mechanisms for us. It could bring in additional resources for overtime investigations, and it also brought in different resources for us as far as personnel from the FBI to be able to assist with any of these task force cases that we were working on. That's been a great task force that we are still part of today. Our Detective Sergeant, Chris Gravina, supervises our detective. He is the only detective, but essentially all of our officers are detectives as well. They handle most of their investigations unless it is a significant investigation. He handles the case management, ensuring proper procedures, coordinating investigations, overseeing crime scenes, training and mentoring, provides incredible guidance for our, development of our officers. He reports to our command staff. He, community and victim relations, he engages with our victims, our witnesses, and the public to gather information and help build trust. And Chris is assigned to our Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, also known as ICAC. Again, that was another task force that we were specifically asked to be a part of. It's one that I'm not happy that we're part of it, but it's a necessity. And unfortunately, he is quite active, with that within our municipality, our surrounding areas, and even outside, throughout Chester County. Our patrol corporals, Christopher Parrish and Francis Toth, they supervise our patrol officers, overseeing the officers on patrol. They provide field training and mentorship. They ensure policy compliance, making sure the officers are following our protocols and the laws and best practices. They assist in critical incidents, providing leadership. They conduct patrol and law enforcement, just as our officers do. They have administrative duties such as, writing reports and reviewing officer activity and relaying information to the sergeant, to the lieutenant, and to myself. They serve as acting supervisors, taking command in the absence of a sergeant or the lieutenant or myself. And again, they work through community engagement as well. Corporal Toth has taken on sort of a dual role now because he's also acting as our dedicated school resource officer. Officer Boyer has been out due to complications from an injury sustained with wrestling with a mental health crisis, patient. And Corporal Toth takes on the responsibility of being a sworn law enforcement to assign to work with the school and in the school setting to enhance safety and build those continuing relationships with law enforcement and the students and the staff. He ensures school safety, provides law enforcement investigative activity at the school, mentoring and counseling. This is something that we've really seen an incredible positiveness with Officer Boyer and now with Corporal Toth. The trust that they've been able to build with the students and the staff has been incredible. And I think I've told you previously about the one incident where Officer Boyer was able to talk a suicidal subject off the roof of the school. Nobody else was able to do that, and that just spoke volumes into the connection that he was able to make with that student. So incredible with those relationships they're building. He provides conflict resolution to assist with some of the disputes with students before it escalates into a criminal matter. And I think actually that's what he spends probably 50% of his time, which is great. Emergency preparedness, developing and implementing safety plans for potential threats at the schools, education and outreach, teaching students about law-related topics such as drug prevention and bullying and online safety, and collaborates with school staff working with teachers and administrators to address safety concerns and improve the school environment. On slide 22, our Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program, MICSAP, Officer Mark Todd. You see this on every month, typically with part of our monthly report. And I, went into some more depth with our public safety discussion last month. He's responsible for enforcing federal and state regulations related to commercial motor vehicles to ensure roadway safety. Some of the main functions include commercial vehicle inspections, enforcing the FMCSA regulations, which ensures the drivers following the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration rules, such as hours, limits of service, weight restrictions, hazardous material transport, investigating commercial motor vehicle crashes, using the scales that we have for weighing and roadside enforcement, driver compliance checks, making sure that the commercial drivers have their licenses, their logbooks, and they're fine within the alcohol and drug testing compliance, hazardous material enforcement, education and outreach, training some of the drivers. A lot of what you'll notice in some of my reports is that Mark issues significantly more warnings than he does violations. And that really goes along with the Commonwealth's practice of not wanting to be punitive towards the commercial vehicles, but we want to achieve safety. So that's been pivotal. And he collaborates with other agencies, again, working with, federal, state transportation agencies to improve the commercial vehicle safety. And then going down to our police officers, the police officers that work every day, 365, holidays, 24/7. They're out there to maintain law and order and protect the public and enforce laws and serve the public. There's law enforcement, there's crime prevention, emergency response, public safety protection, investigations that they handle, traffic enforcement, community engagement, arrest and detentions, crisis intervention, report writing, and documentation. Again, our officers spend a lot of time documenting what they do. Moving on to slide 24, our administrative assistant to the chief of police and parking division, Tricia Jones. Trish serves as our first point of contact for visitors as they're calling the police department. She helps with administrative tasks and assisting the public. She greets our visitors. She handles incoming phone calls, processes reports and paperwork, manages office administration, such as organizing files and scheduling appointments, maintaining office supplies, providing public information. She answers a lot of questions. Coordinates communication, relaying messages between the officers, the detectives, myself. She monitors the visitor access, ensuring safety protocols are followed. On slide 25, our records admin, Nicole Pucci, responsible for managing and maintaining our official law enforcement records, ensuring accuracy, security, and compliance with our legal standards. She handles records management, data entry and processing, ensuring compliance. She processes all of our public records requests after they've been approved by myself. She handles our background requests as they come in from different agencies, checking our system for contacts. She handles evidence documentation, maintaining proper documentation for evidence tracking and chain of custody for records. She collaborates with our other agencies, which is where she spends a significant amount of time with our DA's office as far as compliance with court orders, documents, evidence that needs to be presented to the district attorney's office for all of our reports. Security and confidentiality. She ensures sensitive records are always protected and unauthorized breach or access. She generates reports. And then our two warriors out there pounding the pavement on slide 26, our parking enforcement. Officer Mario Romado is our full-time parking enforcement officer, and Officer Andre Davenport. I will share with the public, unfortunately, this will be Andre's last week. Due to some personal reasons, he's going to be probably moving to Philadelphia and has decided he's going to hang up his ticket booklet. So we're going to be looking at advertising for a replacement for Andre, and we will certainly be missing him. He's been our long-term force here. But the park enforcement officers are responsible for ensuring that parking laws and regulations are being followed within the borough. They issue parking citations. They monitor parking areas during their patrol routes. They enforce time limits to ensure vehicles that are not going past the posted limits in all the different zones that we have. They manage our parking meters. They respond to complaints involving parking significantly in the business district area. They provide a public education to inform the public about our parking laws and regulations, as at times people can be confused as to either signage or the mythology of our parking requirements. So that brings you up to slide 27, KSPD in 2035. So we're going to continue on the path of success that I believe that we've achieved over these past 10 years now. And what does the future hold for policing in Kennett? Does it involve regionalization? This will undoubtedly become a philosophy and a policy decision for our borough council and our mayor to explore. I would certainly encourage our leaders to engage with other municipal leaders to discuss the concepts and the probability of regionalization. Regionalization, for anyone that is not familiar with this, is when two or more smaller agencies merge into a larger centralized force. And there are advantages and disadvantages, specifically depending on who you talk to. Some of the positives of regionalization on slide 28 are cost efficiency. You allow for the opportunity for more sharing of resources, vehicles, equipment, training, reducing operational costs. And smaller towns like ourselves, I do believe, can save on some of these administrative expenses. Improve services. Larger departments have more specialty units as far as ERT, SWAT, canines than smaller departments can afford on their own. You offer the opportunity for better training and standardization to really implement that consistent training, and I think you've heard that from the fire department's presentation as well. Increased manpower and coverage. There are always more officers available. When the needs are there, and coverage requires it. Better technology and equipment. Larger forces tend to have more access to advanced technology, such as body cameras and crime database and other forensic tools, and a stronger coordination. Crime doesn't stop at any of our municipal boundaries. Regional forces improve the communication and coordination between these neighboring areas. Some of the negatives of regionalization on slide 29, are sometimes the loss of control. Smaller communities may feel disconnected from law enforcement as decision-making is maybe shifted to a larger governing body. Potential for increased costs, while initial savings, always are experienced, over time, operational costs could always rise, and due to the increased bureaucracy and union negotiations at times could impact that. But I do believe that is something that's controllable. Larger response times in some areas. So depending on really what the concept of your regionalization plan is, you could lead to an often, longer response time depending on how large your municipality or your coverage area becomes. Community relations challenge. Officers may not be familiar, as I mentioned, with some of the township problems, with the local residents and traditions and concerns, potentially weakening that trust and engagement. But I think that's something that certainly can be addressed through your administration. Job displacement and morale issues. Consolidation can lead to layoffs, rank restructuring, or job uncertainty for officers. That's always something that has to be considered as you're going through your strategic planning with it. And larger force may sometimes face that increased red tape as far as making decisions, and policy change are slower and somewhat less flexible. But overall, regionalization, excuse me, can be a highly beneficial in terms of efficiency and capabilities. But it also raises concerns, that I've brought up. And on slide 30, that's just a good-looking fellow right there to wrap it up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief. Leave that picture up there, no? Questions, council, public, what questions, what follow-up comments or thoughts does anyone have for any one of the chiefs? Let me just throw out just a couple quick ones. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but it looks like the Jennersville Hospital is finally coming back online. Christiana Care bought it, is developing it, and looks like as soon as this summer, which seems very optimistic, but potentially as soon as this summer, to at least have some of the beds up and running, which would have I think, a major impact on our EMS services and not having to go to Chester County all the time. So hopefully that's true. AJ, is there anything the community could be doing to reduce the calls, meaning false alarms, I guess, with fire alarms or security alarms? Is there anything we can do to help lessen your load? Thank you. I think, John, you had a question. Juan, would you mind passing the microphone to John, please? Thank you very much.
John Thomas, 406 South Broad. First off, I would like to say that the police department's been to my house many times recently, picked me up off the floor, but and it might look funny, but it's not to me. And EMS has probably saved my life twice in the last 4 years. I think that we got to solve the problem. And to solve the problem is I was on the Y board when we did the design for the YMCA. We had two chairmen, Mike Walker, Tom Musser. Tom Musser owned Tri-M Electric, and Mike Walker owned Genesis. They did the fundraising for us. I think we ought to have a $10 million a year fundraiser for a 5-year plan and get $50 million for fire department and use that as an interest-only account where they could pick up $3 to $5 million a year. And we could be the first to say we're all in on this. In other words, there's some wealthy people in this area. Mike and Tom used to just call people. I'm doing my trust agreement now. I put the EMS in my trust agreement. There's a lot of things we can do, but I think we should take the first step and say, hey, let's do a $10 million a year and have 3 chairmen or 4, however many areas they cover, East Marlboro, Longwood, and Kennet. And get together and have 3 chairmen or 4 chairmen to do fundraising. And all that money is not to be spent except it's going to a fund. So we build up a fund of $50, $60 million, 6% interest, we're going to make $3 million a year. That's going to help the whole community. It's going to help the fire company. It's going to help us because it's not going to get any cheaper. And we got to get somebody very interested in doing that. Some big company or some wealthy person.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Thank you. Any other comments or question? Please, John.
Yes, thank you, Jen Samuel, Daily Local. A couple questions. Chief, how big is your police force now, and what are you most excited about via the ribbon cutting ceremony on Thursday? And then Chief McCarthy, how many volunteer firefighters do you have right now, and what's your goal?
We are currently 14 full-time officers, and that includes myself. What I'm most excited about is that it's the first time in damn near 30 years that all the borough services are accessed by one door. So I think it's an incredible accomplishment that we've been able to centralize all the services that anyone in the borough needs to come to access those services.
And are you building a new fire station anytime soon in Longwood?
Chiefs Holworth, McCarthy, and Franks, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you guys do every single day for the folks that live and use the town, and to your staffs as well that make Canada a better place to live and be. Thank you very, very much. Thanks. Thanks again, Chiefs. Appreciate it. Let's get into discussion items. We lost our special events expert, so let's jump ahead for the minute to applying for the item number 15A, consider resolution to apply for PA small water and sewer grant. Kyle?
I recommend doing a 15A and B together. They're both grant applications. So Rob, do you want to kind of walk through what these two are?
Okay, the first one is for the PA Small Water and Sewer Grant is for approval to submit an application to be used for expansion of our SCADA system. And that's basically our control system for our water and sewer. We're asking for $400,000. Right now, our system, our SCADA system is not working very well. It's rather antiquated, and it comes down to the point where during the weekend, I have to get on the computer and turn the pumps on and turn the pumps off to fill the towers and keep track of the height of the towers. So it'd be really nice to be able to get it automated. The second one is for, let's see, gotta find it. Yeah. Okay, the second one is a post facto approval for submittal of a Chester County CRP grant application as a defined scope, preparation and submittal occurred between council meetings. Public Works has requested $400,000 to be used for the replacement of a failed 2.5-inch galvanized water main located on Race and Juniper Streets with 8-inch C900 to supply potable water and expand the fire protection. Public Works is asking that council approve the application submittal post facto.
Thank you, Rob. Let's take item 15A first. Is there a motion to approve is there a resolution to apply for the Pennsylvania Small Water and Sewer Grant in the amount of $400,000?
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Julie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ellie. Discussion, council discussion? Any issues? Sounds like a great idea. Public comment, discussion? With that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. It passes. Thank you. And then item number 15B, the retroactive resolution for the application, which has already been submitted, but just to make it, to approve it or withdraw it, I guess if we had to, for the Chester County Community Revitalization Program grant also in the amount of $400,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ellie. Second. Thank you, Sam. Council discussion. Thumbs up. Public comment discussion? With none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much, Rob and team. Can we back up to the special events, Mr. Mayor? The consideration for the Summerfest Sunday, June 8th.
Sure. This was a minor revision on the Summerfest application, and we recommended approval for this. If you're going to ask me what it is, hang on one second.
I think it's changing the parking prohibition to 7 a.m. instead of.
That's right. They're just expanding their time.
I would like to clarify, I'm Roz Fenton with Kennett Collaborative. On that, I believe on the attachment that you had with the revised application, it said the parking restrictions at 7 a.m., but we needed the street closure restricted, or the street closure at 7 a.m. So just to clarify that.
Chief, any issue with that? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Also note that the application, a lot of the items were missing. I'm not sure because they were filled in on the first one or not, but do you need electrical supply? Is food being served? Are alcoholic beverages being served? Or maybe just didn't print? It was already approved. So just the time change we're looking at tonight. With that,
And the location addition for this one as well. There was the map, yeah, using the parking lot behind Gish's, the parking lot back there. So
thank you, Roz.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the change to the Summerfest permit?
Moved.
Thank you, Jill. Is there a second?
Yes.
Julie, any other discussion? Public comment? Roz, thanks very much for what you and your colleagues do. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. And the application for the Mushroom Festival Parade.
This year being a monumental year for the Mushroom Festival, Kennett Collaborative is going to organize a parade for that Thursday evening. It'll take the same route as the holiday light parade. So starting here on Broad Street and working up through the center of town and out and down State Street.
And it's the first time the parade's happened in
Since before COVID.
a few years, that's for sure, right?
It used to be on Friday nights, but it's too difficult to do the setup and everything, so they're asking for Thursday evening.
That's great. And Kennett Collaborative is working on this as well, Roz.
Collaborative would be organizing it, and we're doing it in partnership with the Mushroom Festival.
That's
Committee.
great.
So yeah.
Mark your calendar, September 4th from 6 to 7 p.m. Is there a motion to approve the application?
Moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any other discussion? Public comment? The money for the,
That's the reimbursement to for the police overtime. That's the, who's paying for it? Kennett Collaborative.
any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. And last on the permits is the National Night Out, Thursday, September 25th.
Yeah, National Night Out, we are going to pivot this year. We had tried to go with the traditional night, which is the first Tuesday in August last year. Unfortunately, we got rained out that event and we postponed it 1 week. We're going to pivot from that and we're going to shoot for Thursday, September 25th. One, to make it a little bit cooler, as it's about usually 90 degrees in the first one. Make it a little more enjoyable for all of the officers and everybody that comes to it. But two, because National Night Out has become so popular, we're looking to engage more people, some more attractions for the kids in the community, and some more law enforcement related things, such as the district attorney's office, maybe their crime scene unit. So we're looking to be able to add to it by changing the date. Originally, we did ask for a rain date on Friday, this September 26th. We have withdrawn that request because that coincides with the high school parade that's going to be that night as well. So we are just shooting for September 25th here in the parking lot.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Mayor, comment? Is there a motion to approve the National Night Out to happen on September 25th from 5 to 8 p.m.? Second? Thank you very much. Discussion? Public comment? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much, Safety Committee. And back to item number 15C, consider a request for proposal for the comprehensive plan update.
So I can handle this if you'd like. So in order, Borough has applied for a grant, received a grant to help update our comprehensive plan. In order to do that, to actually prepare the plan, we need to put out an RFP for the consultant to do so. This consultant will not start from zero. What they do is they take the old plan, which is from 2013, and they do a number of different meetings and studies and assessments to bring that forward to today. And they wrap in, of course, all the pertinent borough councils and committees, public and consultants like kind of get through that process.
Thank you, Mike. Kyle, why is this important?
It's a foundational study and sort of public input process that everything else is built on. So I think over the last couple of years, we've done a pretty good job of doing strategic plans. But if you think of them, they're snapshots. This is supposed to last you a decade. The other benefit of it is that we often, which is normal, do a parking study or a traffic study or a stormwater study. And while those are useful, this gives you the opportunity to take every one of those up to 10% and then every one of those up to 20% and make sure that they all talk to each other and make sense. So it's a chance to just sort of reset and really think things through. And, you know, candidly, they're expensive. They take a lot of time, right? So we're only going ahead with this now because we've gotten a large grant to help and because our planning commission is committed to really putting in a lot of time and effort, and because we have the staffing to do it now. So there's you really only want to get into it if you've got those things in place, and I'm confident that we do right now.
I understand some of our neighbors, I think New Garden is in the process of sort of finishing their plan up, and Oxford maybe just started theirs as well.
Yes, but in both cases, they've largely done zoning efforts, which can be part of this, but this can also, you know, it should include traffic and parking and environmental reviews. So it's a wider view of that,
almost like comprehensive. There's not a timeline for the delivery of the RFP within the specs for the folks that might be bidding on it. You might want to consider adding you know, whether it's X months or dates or whatever, it might help make it a bit more solid, and whether or not a company can actually complete it with the staff that they have or need to have on it. So
So one of the things we will look for when they submit their RFPs is actually what they expect the timeline to be, so you can measure it based on what their capabilities are and bring it forward.
Okay,
And kind of what their plan is to get us through the plan.
that's great. I don't see that as a spec or requirement in the RFP itself, but I'll leave that to you guys to make sure that it is or how it should be.
That's the last bullet there. To
Gotcha.
provide project timeline and adequate updates.
In other words, if I had read it thoroughly, I would have seen that. Thank you.
There's a lot of bullet points.
Fair enough. Council well, first, is there a motion to approve the issuing of this RFP for an updated comprehensive plan? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Council discussion.
I apologize. I missed one point. This has also gone to the planning commission. And
Okay,
they pushed
thank
it
you.
onward. Yep.
They're good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Council discussion. Certainly from my perspective, long overdue. I think it's a fundamental cornerstone planning document for any municipality. And things have changed, as we well know, in Kennett Square. And the thing that's great about this is there's a ton of public involvement in it. There's folks are asked from different aspects of the plan, different committees, different public input sessions. I think it's well overdue. And if we have the staff to deliver on it now and the commitment to, then it's a great thing, I think, for the borough and the folks that live and work and play here. Any other council comment? Public comment, discussion?
Request
Proposal. Request for proposal. With that, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Kyle and Mike. Let's get it rolling. And next is the bills, the approval of the bills. Joel?
Yes, we have the bills that were paid in the time span of February 15th through March 14th, which the Finance Committee was able to review last month and voted to recommend for approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the payment of $607,472.13? Thank you. Is there a second? I'll second it. Council discussion? Public comment? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. The minutes from the March 3rd meeting. Questions or comments first on the submission itself? Kyle, we made a commitment at this meeting to make sure that the sewer, water, and trash bills, which we've been struggling with, would go out by April 1st. Are you aware if they have?
I believe they went on April 2nd, but they have gone out.
Terrific. Thank you very much to your staff and I guess Denise and Rob and that whole crew as well. Rachel, a couple of minor edits on page 4. The Memorial Festival planning to have an anniversary parade. It says Thursday, May 4th. I believe that should be September 4th, just a typo. And then on page 6, appointment of Kerry Freeman, second line, Mr. Froning shared, I think is the word. It's just a typo. Any other council? No, minor, don't worry. Any other council comments, questions? Is there a motion to approve the March 3rd minutes as edited? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the March 5th minutes. Any edits, corrections, questions? Is there a motion to approve the March 5th minutes as presented? I'll make the motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Sam. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Almost there. I'm going to come back and take my couple of minutes that I passed on earlier. State Street and tractor trailer traffic. I know this has come up in front of this council, not this council, but other councils numerous times in the past. We own State Street, meaning you, the people that live here and pay taxes here. The safety of State Street continues to be an issue for many, many folks, myself included. It's also a quality of life issue to the shops and folks that use State Street as well. My understanding is that we actually do have a bit more authority or latitude to control truck traffic. I'm very cognizant and want to make sure we consider the folks that have businesses on State Street and need trucks to be there. I know lots of other municipalities use smaller trucks, box trucks, instead of large, 53-foot tractor trailer trucks. Maybe there's a way that we can have, low volume times, 7 to 9 a.m. or some time when it's convenient for trucks and businesses to get their supplies in, but not impact the safety and utility of that road. I understand also that people that aren't in the borough, specifically, Manfredi Cold Storage, has an enormous amount of truck traffic. And I understand that's a necessity for their business. And I'm not trying to stop that, but there are other routes potentially that trucks could go. I guess I'm asking us as a municipality, as a borough, Kyle and team, to please come back to the council with what's realistic. What can we do to reduce, if not stop, at least drastically reduce the amount of tractor trailer truck traffic on State Street?
Yeah, we're happy to do that. There are a couple efforts underway already. So basically one spawned out of the other, and we can provide some updates as they kind of move along. But basically one was bike and pedestrian focus. So how do you move people east and west? That's a natural road. And then a sort of spin-off of that is, okay, if we do that, how does that plan look different if there aren't large trucks on it, right? So there's sort of plan A that they aren't, and plan B if they still are. So anyway, those both are maybe a month in, if that, but we can obviously keep you updated as they kind of work through.
Okay.
Those are multi-municipal and state planning efforts.
Okay. So could we get you or one of our staff to come back to the council next month to let us know what possibilities there are, what the steps would be at least?
I can't commit to next month. These take probably 4 to 6 months, but as soon as there is a real update to share, we'll definitely bring it back here.
Okay. I'm a little impatient. I don't like 4 to 6 months, but if you need a month or two to at least let us know what's going on, I certainly understand that.
Yeah, we'll give any update that we have.
Okay. Council comment, discussion. Any public comment, discussion?
Yes, Jen Samuel, Daily Local. It's such a great topic that you're raising, and I'm sure you've all heard this plenty of times. But media, they close the center of their town for a couple of blocks every Wednesday in the spring, summer, and early fall for dining. And then I believe Phoenixville, that they've actually permanently closed part of their downtown for dining, stemming from the shutdown in 2020. I've talked to many business owners on State Street, and they, kind of wish and pray that that could happen in that heart of State Street by the clock tower. Not only would it help the local businesses get more patrons in warm weather, it would make this place already a greater destination. Any thoughts on supporting Kennett Collaborative and trying to make it weekly again? I know there was pushback, especially from the mushroom industry, but they can go around.
Thank you very much. And I won't speak for Kennett Collaborative. I think last time we discussed how often it's felt like monthly was what they had desired, but they can certainly come back to the council anytime they want to revisit that. But to your prior comments about closing it, I certainly obviously agree. Sir.
Troy Thompson, 612 D Street. So State Street versus Cypress. Cypress, we do not own, or we do own parts of it.
Cypress is, correct me, Rob or Kyle. Cypress is a public or locally owned street. The only street that's not owned is 82, is North and South Union.
So can we expand the scope to be Cypress? Because that is, I think, also a risk, especially churches on Sunday. Everybody's parked there. Trucks are going about 40. I'm one street off. And when those trucks hit any pothole, it's shaking. I've got drywall falling. My house isn't that old. It's one of the new ones in Magnolia. So I would just ask, let's not just do this one-sided because the trucks flying out the other direction is part of the problem too, because a lot of people are walking up to those streets.
Fair comment.
So-
Thank you, Troy.
Thanks. He was next. He was patient.
I dropped something off here tonight, and something that concerns me very much is that years ago, we put our borough on the National Historic Register. And with that, there were certain things you couldn't do to old houses. Yeah, the borough's building we sold is being worked on. It's got to go through the national something.
John, can I interrupt you? Pardon me.
Sure.
Is this relate to the State Street discussion or is this separate?
This is separate.
Okay, can I ask you to hold that till we have general public comment in just a few minutes? We're just finishing this last topic. Charlotte? Thank you.
He saved himself to the end. Charlotte Watson, 523 Magnolia Street. I hear about these trucks. Most of these truck traffic is concerning the people who want to develop the downtown district and are having meetings right now to do so behind our backs. They want to make it more social than anything. I have a problem because we already cut out traffic every Thursday and any other event. And the bottom line, when that truck can't go through there, when you're up there having your entertainment, it's not the townspeople. We can't go through. The town center is supposed to be for the citizens. It's supposed to have a healthy flurry of interactions. It doesn't have that. So I don't know what you think you're sitting here creating, because we people who don't go uptown, which is our townspeople, we're not the ones sitting in the streets eating. We're not the one barraging our sidewalks. We're not the ones. So therefore, we still need our food coming in so we can buy it from the two giants you got us going east and west for. Because if you're going to talk about town development, if you're going to talk about infrastructure, you should be talking about a drugstore. You should be talking about supermarkets. You should be talking about another Family Dollar that run out of town that used to be here. You should be talking about better things than what you're talking about when we're worrying about trucks. Because trucks, when we get businesses and things ever here, which we won't, they'll always be passing through. Because you don't have nothing that they're going to bring a good and service here for. Nothing. So that doesn't concern you because you want to be social. But we people that live here still need clothes. We still need to eat. I don't want to be like Penn State, have to order it out of a Sears catalog because they don't have that truck traffic. And the people got to work. People that are not you. You must not be able to relate to that. And you can't blame everything on Man Freddie because he developed a whole area out there with a red light for his trucks. And he paid for that. So let's get with the real deal because you don't know what you're talking about. But I want Wawa to have that truck. Even though it gets on my last nerve, I think that's Wawa. Oh, is that Wawa, Reggie? Oh, I don't know. Well, somebody, I'm getting up at the windows looking, and it's Wawa. I want to respect Wawa that has to bring that big truck in there. I want to respect them when they bring their sodas in there, whatever they have to bring in, and it's a little bigger than what we're used to. You do not have the magnitude of trucks we've had coming through Kennett that had dust balls clear from Walnut to down the Mill Road. Continual. We don't even have that magnitude, so it's getting on somebody's nerves who is not really worrying about what the citizens need. That's what I'm saying. Bottom line, we don't have the big green concrete trucks. We don't have the 24-hour turnkey to NDF no more. We don't have the supermarket trucks. And you're complaining because they got to go through. That we have cold storage here now. And I'm getting ready to sit down because I'm getting up breath in this place. But cold storage means that these boys are bringing food from the Midwest to the East. Of course, you wouldn't know that. Man Freddie's cold storage. I think Toto is too. There's a couple other ones. Bottom line is they're bringing food not only for Kennett, they're bringing it to the East Coast. So you better get a truck driver in here and ask him something before you shut down his food chain.
Is there any other public comment?
Hi, Steve Warner, 617 Millers Hill. Yeah, the trucks are coming through town. I mean, if you own the roads, then you have the ability to stop 18-wheelers or a weight limit. You can put a weight limit on your roads, so they're not coming through. You could turn Cypress Street into a two-way road. You know, there's a lot of other options to have this. The roads aren't built for this trucks that are coming through, and a lot of the trucks, the 18-wheelers that are coming through are overweight. They've got to be overweight with all the ruts in the road. But anyway, so I got.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comment? We'll open up the general, unless there's any other comment. We'll open it general comments now. Again, limit to 4 minutes. John, you have the floor.
Thank you. So what's concerned about this National Register? I was against this when it came out because it encompasses all these newer houses. I wanted to make it an individual thing where it was an old house would be on the register. We couldn't do it for some reason. They say this is the way it's got to be. So I don't know how this and Von Traeger on South Union Street, how can he do this without going through? He has to go with this. We're ignoring this completely. Hey, you got to get a hold of somebody about this, Kyle. There's rules and regulations about this. Or you know.
Yeah, we'll check on it. We'll give you an answer at the next meeting.
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying, there's rules and regulations about this that we're not following. And, you know, so the second page is, I gave you was something that was the memo that I stopped the sewer plant from being going to spray irrigation. I was on the sewer board. We were going to be $27 million in debt. And we were only going to have 1.1 million gallons of just what we have right now. And we didn't have enough ground or nothing. So this is my memo to them. We stopped it. Then we had to sell it, the ground. So we went through the procedure. We went to up to the old Borough building where the, not this one here, but the old one, original. We had a billboard, we had a bulletin board, we had all the land put out there. We had 20-some people come to look at, builders, investors. Yeah, we got 3 offers, 4.some million, 5.some million, and $6 million. Now we had $12 million tied up in it, so we turned them all down. My suggestion is we don't list it. You don't have to list something to go in the multi-list. You, Borough can put their own listing in the multi-list. In a commercial or something. It could go in, there's so many places to go now, it's not funny. Yeah, I trust realtors about as much as I trust lawyers, I'm gonna tell you. And they ain't no damn good. And I was a realtor for 50 years. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't trust them, I don't like them. They're out for themselves. If you put it out there and say, you're going, what kind of commission are you paying these guys? 5%? Should be paying 4%. And most other realtors are not going to come in for 2%. So what you need to do is take it out of the realtor's hand, put it in the multi-list, put it in all the areas, and let people come to you. But you got to set a figure. Like the police stations, you got to put a figure on it. At least agree that it's got to be 800,000 or something. We gave that other building away, and we gave 9 parking spots, which if you look at the report I gave you last meeting on parking spaces, there's $16,000 to $18,000 per parking space. So we spent $170,000. So we paid less than $300,000 for that building. That's what we got for that building. That's terrible. Terrible. For this building, if you want to sell it, you got to come up with an idea of what you want it to look like. You can put another building right next to this one, just the same size, 30,000 square feet. Move this to the house next door. You got 56,000 square feet you're selling, or you're renting. And
John, if you could wind it up, please, it's 4 minutes. Thank you.
well, I'm sorry I'm a little longer, but so you see, I've offered to help you as many times as I can, and you guys don't want it. So I'm giving you this because you know who sold this ground? I sold the ground. I sold the ground. I got him out of the hole the last time. I'm willing to help you if you want.
Thank you. Sir, would you mind grabbing that microphone? Oh, you're next? Sorry.
Just because the order back. Okay, that's.
No problem.
John, I don't know what you said, but it remind me of something. But anyhow, there's something that I wanted to say something on. Beauty strips. That's what Rob calls them. When you step out your car into the curb, there's people in our town that putting little pebbles at it. And I happen to be arthritically affected. So when I go to the trunk of my car, I don't want to walk on a pebble that the rain has washed all the way out. I think we need to be looking at that and maybe create an ordinance that definitely has to be grass. Definitely. Because if anybody's handicapping anywhere, getting your gate, even on solid ground, is a problem. And you look around town, there's people on my street that's done that. And it's on other streets too, I noticed. I don't often park on streets, but that's what I did. Church of the Advent. I forget the name of that street. I want to call it Haitian, but that's not it. That runs right by the Church of Advent that goes up into Haitian Hills. There needs to be some sort of traffic control, and I shouldn't have had to bring it to your attention. When you go, I'm bad on this. When you go west on that street, there should only be a right turn. When you go east on that street, excuse me, right turn. Oh, excuse me, let me get it right, hold on. When you go, anyhow, when you come out of there, you should only be turning towards the cemetery. It's too dangerous. And when you come out the other way from the Church of Advent, it should only be a left. It can be a right. It can be a right because you have plain view. Also, the fact is it should be a no pedestrian crossing. It's one of the most dangerous places in our town, and new people are trying to make it something. So for 3 people, we're having pedestrian crossing there. Shouldn't be any. It's a blind spot, period. We take our risk in our cars. So if you're foolish enough, which I see some of them, crossing the street, then you just want to get your legs broke or you want to get killed. I don't know, because it's a total hazard. And we never had people using that street before to the degree of recently. NVF, excuse me, I got to go to mail. I called the United States Postal Service because I didn't like the reaction from the man up there who runs the place. I had 3 pieces of mail lost, and it took my insurance 18 days to get to it. We mailed them on the 1st and the 18th. It still wasn't there, and I had to keep calling the people. They sent me a late notice. That's the only reason I became noticeable to me. And then there was a book thing for Cheney that I sent out. Never did reach them. We were clearing up to the 20-somethings from March 1st. So when I called the postmaster boy, he was under duress. I called a second post office, and we had a great time talking. But that one in our office had a problem. And I've been hearing about it, closing it at 12, or saying you're going to be closed, come back this time. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You come back, okay? You come back, and you still can't get the wizard, okay? They can't get in those doors where the people operate at the counter. And that's ridiculous. And I got mail. We thought it was, we went out. Oh, we didn't get no mail today. We said, come home. Night, the dark of night. Our mail was there. I had a problem with that. So I called after my encounter with him, I called the United States Post people in Washington. So the other postmaster who was trying to help me and didn't want his name to be developed. And so I said, no, don't worry about it, honey, because I got something for it. He said, well, I don't know if they'll call you back. The woman called me back from Washington. Okay. And she gave me a number, if anybody wants it, for the consumer advocacy for the Postal Service. So if we got a problem, we're going to call it. And that's what I did. Then I also called EPA about the NVF. And they're just as less knowledgeable today as they were yesterday. And they'll probably pass something they had no business passing. Because I've been calling them ever since NVF closed down. And it's important to all of us to say, it's not just the pits. It's just not the holes. It's just not the draining places where people should be testing. NVF was full of leaching. And I didn't see no big mounds of dirt like you see at Wyeth Laboratory. Nothing's been dug up there. Not like that. And left. Wyeth's been working to clean, and there's been mounds. I live there. There's nothing that's been there like that on NVF. Plus, greenery just started growing in the last couple years. So somebody needs, I got all the things that I know. When we talk about it, I'll be ready. The pits, the wells, all of that. Okay, well, anyhow, the drainage here, you don't want to hear the important stuff. That's why you keep making the mistakes and not serving us as citizens, because you don't know and you don't want to know.
Sir, did you have a comment? Charlotte, would you mind passing the microphone over to that gentleman?
Sorry if I jumped up. I didn't see.
Good evening. I had a.
Sorry, your name and property.
My name is Anthony Battaglia. I purchased two property in Kenneth Square, 2023, and I called Rob for with an issue that I have in the site of Union Street, 110 Union Street. There are two trees that they're concerned that I need to repair the sidewalk, but the tree has moved this cement up. So Rob suggested that they will call it the tree committee. They deny it, that I cannot cut the trees. So in those conditions, I could not repair. So I went to an attorney and they wrote me a letter to give it to you because I can't fix it unless I'm not going to spend a lot of money to go in and
Rob, correct me, but when we met with the Street Tree Commission, Rachel as well, who's part of that, about 3 years ago, we said that the public safety of sidewalks trumps the street trees, did we not?
That's correct.
So I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like you may be getting incorrect information.
I think what they were looking for is something to go around it because there was a width. So I told him that he would be better off bringing it to you guys. So the
Okay.
council could decide because they said they could go around the tree because there's plenty of width there. You can't go up
Yeah.
because of grading up against the building.
Right.
so it's a long one.
Yeah, Kyle?
I recommend that we package this and talk to our shade tree about it and then bring it back for a council action item.
Yeah, we'll
Had a chance to.
we'll give
really
you
think-
we'll give you some immediate help on that. I think, well, it might be a contradiction in terms of what the direction from council was. So, Kyle, will you get Mr. Battaglia's information?
Yes, we should commit that staff will follow up. We'll come up with sort of an analysis of it, and then council can consider if there's a change to go from there. Okay.
Got it.
Long.
Is this, we'll, if we can hold this, Kyle and team will take care of this. Is your information on here? Do you mind giving us your name and your phone number? Thank you. While you're doing that, please, while you're doing that, is there any other public comment, please? Oop, thanks. Thank you.
Sandy D'Antonio, 220 North Broad Street. I have a question about State Street. I was under the impression that the state regulated things like the handicapped things, like in front of my shop. Okay, I had talked to Rob. First, well, it's ugly and it's too high. But secondly, they drilled holes and they put in a metal, whatever you want to call it, all the way around. Next thing I know, I ride by and there's just holes sitting there and they took the metal contraption away. Now there's black trash bags in the holes with stones on them. I am very annoyed. First of all, that needs to be removed. At least the trash bags and filled in. That is dangerous and it's supposed to be safe. You don't need to discuss it right now, but I would like an answer.
I can answer it.
Not on my 4 minutes, but go ahead.
That's okay.
Thank you.
When the original railing was set, there was no inspector for PennDOT there. And the temperatures that they set it at were below recommended level for the mortar that it was going into. So the inspector told them they had to remove it and wait till the weather was warmer so that they could reset it in the mortar and at a warmer temperature.
But why is it PennDOT? If it's a state road now, I mean a borough road, why is it PennDOT?
PennDOT funded that project.
I know, and it's not right. Okay. Done. Okay. So my next thing is, you know, the furniture store that replaced the library? Well, when I was going through State Street the other day, there was one of the furniture store's trucks parked on the side, either loading or unloading, and they were parked the wrong way. First of all, the owner made a big deal about needing an easement and a lot of other stipulations. And I don't think they have a right to do that. So if somebody could check into that, I'd appreciate it.
I think the chief has written that down.
Thank you. Just a couple other things. I happened to be in Sam's the other day. There's still not a sign for their 15-minute parking. So I told them I would mention it. The other thing, the old Borough building where the office was, there are 2 reserved spots on the side. It's not parking, permit parking. There's always cars parked there. I think there's 2 or 3 spots. We should be collecting money if we are not. And why are they there? And just say reserved. So that's one of my other things. And then a friend of mine just had knee surgery. And she said, why aren't there any handicap spots in the back or on State Street near the post office? So I don't know. I haven't looked for any, but I told her I would relay that. And my only other thing is, what's the date for the dumpsters on South Street? Because I saw it somewhere and I can't remember where. Well, how do we publish that? It's not published that well?
It's on the website as well. Yeah.
But everybody doesn't know if they're not on the website. So anyway,
An email.
I didn't get an
I got
email.
an email.
I did not. I did not. And I usually get notifications from Kennett Square, gotta
Yeah.
say. But thank you all. Appreciate it.
The 12th.
April 12th and 13th, Sandy. Sam's parking, 15-minute parking, we discussed that. It actually is going to come up as a group of actions so we can be a bit more efficient in how we do that. So that's happening. Rachel?
Out in the newsletter. So the dates were in the newsletter that went out.
When did that go out?
9 p.m. tonight.
Oh, yesterday? Okay.
The handicap spots, I'm almost positive. I can see one in my head in front of, I see lots of crazy things in my head. In front of, I think there is one right there. And then the Borough Building, those two parking spaces, Kyle, or I guess it's a Lexi thing. I'm not sure. If you guys could just follow up with that, please. Follow up. I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right, Troy Thompson, 612 D Street. Kyle, this is one that you and I had talked about, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Kennett Square Apartments. Again, I believe they got a variance for their parking. So they have a gate that goes down, so everybody's parking out on the street and so forth. So I'm using this as a gauge since I walked by it. Parking garage looks about half full. Surrounding streets are full. And when I went to Chester County assessments, they're still being assessed for an empty lot, which means their assessment, I believe, is about 29,000 total assessment. They said it had to hit a percentage of occupancy. If we're talking about budget revenue, to me, that should be low-hanging fruit. When I talked to the assessor's office, they said they are going to wait for an acknowledgement that that has hit some type of capacity. Again, I wasn't here for the discussion, but it seems like it was not an appropriate situation where we gave them a variance on the required parking. Then they decided $80 a month to charge for each parking spot. And the fact that they have, I think, 4 other properties in the borough, in addition to that, I think we should probably be keeping them on a little bit of a short leash.
Mr. Towns, just as a clarity, they did not get a variance for parking. They met all their parking requirements. The question that's come up in the past is that if they are charging for parking down below, which helps to meet their parking requirements, is that in the spirit of the approval is the question. But there was no waiver on parking. They met all their
And
requirements.
what time period would I go to validate that?
You would have to just look at the approved plan.
Because I've been told by more than one person that they got a variance on that.
There's no variance on parking.
Okay.
Not that I recall.
But the point is because they're charging for parking, folks are trying to avoid having to pay for
Well,
it.
they're charging for parking, so there's an additional revenue stream that's coming
Yeah.
in on that, and they are paying for an empty parking lot.
Mike, is that a technicality? Is that something the borough can challenge or not?
We brought that up in public safety a couple of times, that if they're not making it accessible for free, is that not a quid pro quo, for lack of a better word, of meeting the parking requirement, but not making it accessible for everybody? I felt that maybe it was a contradiction to the approval, but I think Mike already looked at it and said no.
Yeah, but I think his question is more, how is the county assessing it?
Well, it's twofold. The county assessed it as an apartment building. I don't know if it was ever discussed on the valuation of the building that they're doing a revenue stream off of parking. Now you have a revenue stream and it's being treated as a parking lot. And going off memory, I think it's $29,000 for that lot.
So the county tax assessment office is the one that sets the
Yep.
tax assessment for, we don't really have a hand in it. I do know they're generally pretty active in
They are,
monitoring permits.
okay, I met with them and they said they're waiting for an acknowledgement either from the borough or from somebody that it has met whatever the agreement was for the amount of occupancy of the apartment.
I think it's the UNO is what triggers the assessment department to get it going, I believe. But let's take it offline. I think it's a great question if we're not getting
That's
the
free money
towns.
for you
Yeah,
guys.
exactly. So I guess yeah. Mike or Lexi, it's probably more of a Mike thing, right? If we just find out where the county is with that and what abilities we have. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Any other public comment? Please come to the mic.
Michael Carlino, 645 Linden Circle. On pigtailing on his thoughts about the apartment building, when are they going to get their final occupancy and when is all that going to happen? And will that be a general meeting? Does that happen on their own? How's that all happen?
They already have their final building
Okay.
occupancy. They do not have their final closeout from the engineer though.
Okay.
So the building occupancy is all done by the building inspector. So that's all of the internal work, all of the exterior site work is the final closeout for escrow.
So they haven't gotten all their
They-
escrows back yet
No.
and all that. Will that happen in a meeting, or is that just,
it's all
hey, we did it, okay, here's your money, and
Yeah, it's all
We're all done.
internal review.
Okay.
The engineer.
just wondering how
will-
it all worked?
Yeah, our
Okay.
third-party engineer, though, will do the review and determine if they've met
Okay.
their criteria.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Any other public comment? Please come on up. Jen, did you have something?
Rick Bohinski, 403 Chestnut Street. So last time I was here, yeah, like months past, I've been bringing up big concerns about the library, the pornographic, sexually explicit material, and the perverted transgender material content in the library. So, and Bob, last time you mentioned that, I have no proof that the board doesn't have any concern over this. Because I did make that statement. I said, hey, it appears that you guys don't have any concern. So if I'm wrong, let me know.
I think what I said, or certainly what I intended, is that I didn't want to use this forum as a political debate over what one person thinks is right or one person thinks is wrong. That's still my stand, but please go ahead. You got a couple minutes left.
Okay. Yeah, it's not, I don't see how it's political at all. I'm actually not affiliated with any party. So, yeah, if the board thinks something's wrong, it's kind of concerning if the board's not even talking about it or making recommendations to, say, the library or something. So, again, this is, I guess, how is this even a political subject?
Do you have anything else to say?
Sure. Well, my indication, the reason why I said last time was that because it appears the board has no concern over it. Mr. Mayor, you indicated that, you trust the library leadership, and you indicated, at least my perception was, that you don't have a concern with the material. Chief, you looked into the one example, Californication. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from your perspective, you didn't have any, concern over it. So, again, another question I have is, what do you guys define pornography as? Do you have a definition for it? Or like a standard that defines what that is?
Please go ahead. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Well, the other thing is that I did some research, not only just so you guys are tracking the library system, local schools, and if there's someone from the library board who can correct me if I'm wrong, but students from local schools via the Power Library system, they can have access to this content also. So whether or not they can, even if that was an issue, I'm just really concerned. Again, I really don't want to read this again, but I don't know. I'm not going to read it. Everyone recalls what I read last time? And does anyone have a problem with that?
Please go ahead. You've got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, why isn't anyone willing to talk about this?
Thank you very much for your
Okay.
comments.
All right.
Any other public comment? Any other comment from staff? Mike?
I do have one thing. It's completely unrelated to the legal stuff, so John can forgive me even though I'm a lawyer. But for anyone who's having issues with the Postal Service, that it does have a free online service called Informed Delivery. They'll send you an email every day of the scan of every piece of mail that you get. So free, send you by email. You know what you're getting.
But is that email late? Oh, it's just a bad joke. Sorry. Any council comment? Mr.
Just had one final thing. Skipped over my report, which I should have pointed out earlier, and it's not.
Forgive me.
I don't have a ton of major updates, but I did just want to, we did finalize the reviews of the reviews or the review process. And so I just wanted to thank staff for taking on the reviews. I know that's a heavy lift and you guys are all really busy. So just thank you so much for doing those.
My apologies, Sam. Sorry about that. Any comments? A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thanks, everyone. Good meeting.